For 4 years, Ukraine has stood firm. You have shown the world what true resilience looks like. You've reminded us all that freedom and independence are never guaranteed. They need protecting, defending, and when necessary, fighting for.
This is your daily dose of all things royal. Welcome back, my gorgeous, good-looking friends. Nope, the public can't have a break without hearing from either of these two, and today Prince Harry pops up flooding the media with an emotional video with the Superhuman Center to mark the 4th anniversary of the war in Ukraine. I don't know if he was going for the I'm being held hostage vibe, but that surely is what it's giving.
I've had the honor and privilege of visiting Ukraine twice. Each time I left deeply moved by the courage, dignity, and unbreakable spirit of the Ukrainian people. Even in the midst of war, a war that continues to take the lives of civilians and service members every single day, life goes on.
Let me go ahead and pause and interject on this. Let me ask this question. How many of you recently have seen footage of this war happening in Ukraine and this so-called Russian aggression they keep talking about? I mean, aside from Harry's war propaganda, what else have we seen recently that journalists have been covering and talking about? I don't think we've ever been told the Ukrainian casualty numbers, nor do we get to hear or see what the billions of dollars that we give to Ukraine is actually being spent on. There's really no tangible updates to actually what's even happening during this so-called Russian aggression and war.
I saw this strength at the Superhuman Center during my visit in April, in the determination of those rebuilding their bodies and their futures. I saw it in the resilience and pride of the Invictus Games veterans I met in Vancouver, and I saw it in the eyes of the Ukrainians in Kiev, eyes that carry both pain and unwavering hope. Hello.
Hello.
Ooh.
I want to know, why are we not talking about these Ukrainian patches that Harry is so proudly displaying behind him? Quite a few of these patches have symbols that derive from Nazi far-right movements. The fact that Harry is standing with a Nazi sympathizer and made a clear decision to wear a Nazi costume at a party doesn't look like Harry's learned his lesson. Yeah, I do think that Harry is a Nazi and supports fascism, but have rebranded it as democracy. None of what is going on in the EU is representative of democracy. In Ukraine, elections have been canceled, they're pro-censorship, they're preventing journalists from speaking. In fact, they killed one of ours. That's not democracy.
Today, as Ukraine marks the anniversary of the start of this war, I want to speak directly to you, to those on the front lines and to those supporting from the home front. Your strength inspires the world. Your bravery unites us, and your hope lights a path forward for us all. Please know that you are not alone. The world stands with you, and we continue to learn from your courage every single day. Stay strong, stay brave, stay hopeful. Slava Ukraini.
Speak for yourself, Harry. The world does not stand with Ukraine. We don't stand for laundering taxpayer money, and we don't stand for supporting one of the most corrupt and satanic countries in the world. We have enough problems in our own backyard to worry about than supporting your grift, Harry. Ukraine doesn't have a very good reputation when it comes to corruption. Take a listen to what Steven Seagal had to say back in 2024.
For the special operation, Ukraine was known for human trafficking, organ trafficking, narco trafficking, child sex trafficking, biochemical warfare labs, fascism, and Nazism. And these are the things that we still tried to make them our brothers. And these are all poisons that can affect the entire world, not just us. Many people say we are facing an existential threat by all these conditions, but actually the whole world is at risk of becoming dangerously close to entering into World War III. We are facing the same monster trying to devour, conquer, and control the world through lies, disinformation, and manipulation.
All of these people are birds of a feather and somehow are profiting from this pain and suffering that they're inflicting onto the world. Now, it's my opinion, but the reason why UK and the EU want this war to keep on going is because it's good for business. It's the only way that they can stimulate their economies and continue to keep on enriching themselves and lining their pockets with the theft of taxpayer money. Harry needs these wars to continue because not only to line his pockets, but it keeps Invictus Games alive and a purpose for Harry. So who does this war really benefit? Doesn't benefit the people of Ukraine for freedom and democracy. No, doesn't benefit the people of the United States or the people in the UK. It benefits private corporations like Raytheon, BlackRock, Vanguard, the Royals. Like, why do you think the royal family is so vocal and supportive of Ukraine, but can't be so vocal and supportive of the UK? It's because there's no business in that. Like, there's no business or profit in saving and supporting little girls getting gang raped. But there is profit in supporting, continuing, and keeping this war going by selling the narrative of how the people of Ukraine are suffering under this Russian aggression. It's all theater. Like, think about it. If there was money in stopping these horrible gang rapes of these British girls, you better believe Charles would be front and center being the first one talking out about it. But that's not the reality here. Instead, you have the royal family going where the government is investing taxpayer money. So you have the war, you have climate change, you have cancer, and most of all, the youth. Because that's the most important for the future, is capturing the mind of the youth. The messed up thing about this Ukraine situation is that it could have been settled back in 2022. But obviously, the powers that be didn't want that. And the peace deal was sabotage. And thus, America was on the hook for $350 billion that can't be explained on how or where that money went to. And what I find so sickening about all of this that we are seeing unfold right before our eyes is that over the past 25 years, all the major events that we have gone through, such as 9/11, we had the housing crisis, we had COVID, we have the war, is that all of this stuff was pretty much puppeteered by the very same elites who claim to be the ones who want to help humanity. It's all of these oligarchs who made the decisions for us on influencing elections, taking away our freedom of speech, and at the same time profited off of the suffering that they themselves created. War in Ukraine was big business, and Jeffrey Epstein saw it. In this email from 2014 to one of the evil satanic Rothschilds, he writes, Ukraine upheaval should provide many opportunities, many. Well, yeah, of course. They probably saw this as a gold mine for child trafficking. You have arms trading, you have money laundering, and then you have the legit business, which is taking over the energy sources and the rich minerals.
In Ukraine, before Ukraine became independent, and it played an important part in events now.
Ukraine is good for business. Russia blows up Ukraine's grain silos. The price of wheat's gonna go mad up. The moment that news hits, within a millisecond, you're gonna pump trades into whoever the wheat suppliers are, into their stocks.
Your fight is our fight. All of us will go back to Washington and we will push the case against Russia.
We will do everything we can to provide you with what you need to win.
The Ukrainian government is one of the worst in the world. Corrupt, controlled by a few rich people.
The new Ukrainian government, the new Ukrainian leadership, everyone who I know in that group has been touched somehow by open society.
Those were students. 25 years later, they were leaders.
So when you see this photo with these three dictators, do you think they have any intention on stopping this war? All three of them are running fascist governments, masked as democracy. Come on now, who are we kidding?
Both sides of the Ukraine war, and they think that we're too stupid to even notice it. Ukraine just bombed the Druzhba pipeline again, the one that heats Hungary and Slovakia. They got zero oil deliveries all February. Millions of people with no fuel in the middle of winter. And nobody's talking about it because Iran took the spotlight. But here's the facts. Europe has been paying Russia about $1 billion a month for energy for the entire war, while sending billions to Ukraine to fight Russia. So just to get it right, the EU funds Ukraine to fight Russia, then funds Russia to fight Ukraine. Both sides are bleeding. Both sides are dying. And the same people, they profit without risk. That's a cash machine, if you ask me. And Macron, von der Leyen, Merz, and Kallas, they're not running it. They're protecting it, using it as a personal ATM while their own citizens freeze. Now, why does only the Druzhba get hit? Well, because there are other pipelines feeding Western Europe, right? They don't get touched. Well, that would stop the money flow, wouldn't it? But since Hungary and Slovakia won't kneel to Brussels, their pipeline burns. On top of that, Orban is up for election next month. That's what this is really about. Bomb the pipeline, crush the economy, blame the government, vote him out. Install another puppet, and his name is Peter Magyar. His last name literally means Hungarian. I mean, how coincidental is that? Another empty suit built to take orders. And he's going to destroy Hungary just like the rest of them are destroying their own countries. Incredible. Orban begged the EU for help for this oil. He got nothing. So he called President Trump. Imagine that. A European nation asking America for help because its own union wants it to fail. That's the EU. So I want to speak directly to von der Leyen and her little dwarfs. You are not leaders. You are employees. Bad ones at that. You are strangling sovereign nations because they won't obey you. You talk about democracy while you crush it. You have no spine, no character, no moral courage, and zero integrity. You are hollow. And those watching, we know it. And you do too. History is not going to remember you as statesmen. History is going to remember you as cowards who let innocent people freeze and die so you could cling to your borrowed power.
And before we get into our usual business today, I just wanted to say a few words to mark the 4 years of the conflict in Ukraine. That's 4 years of Putin aggression, 4 long years, and 4 long years of suffering in Ukraine. And you will have your own images and memories of that suffering. I've got 3 etched in my mind. The first is in the early days when I went to Kyiv after the conflict broke out. I went to Bucha, which is just outside Kyiv, and saw for myself the roads and the ditches in which Ukrainian civilians were handcuffed with their hands behind their back, blindfolded and shot in the head, and the bodies left in the road. I'd seen the images on film, but I went to see for myself the actual place and talked to the communities there. It was their families, it was their brothers and sisters, it was their communities, and they were left, as they described to me, to pick up the bodies, put them in shopping trolleys and take them to the local church where they put them in a mass grave. The second etched in my memory was last year when I went to one of the busiest hospitals in Kyiv and saw for myself the incredibly awful burns on some of those who had returned from the front line.
Like, where exactly is the front line? Are there any journalists reporting from the front line? I haven't seen any.
Burns the like of which I'd never seen in my life before. And at the same time, I went to a primary school to meet children who were 5, 6, 7 years old, who had lost both their parents to the conflict.
It's kind of an odd thing to say from Keir Starmer. Like, are they in orphanages? Are they being trafficked? Like, who's taking care of them? And why do you care so much about those kids over the British girls that are getting raped in the country that you're supposed to be responsible for? Like, how are the British not protesting outside of 10 Downing Street on a daily basis to remove this man? Is beyond me.
There will be many examples, including the recent attacks on the energy system, which when it was minus 18 degrees, left people freezing in their homes. But that is the suffering inflicted by the aggression of Putin.
You know, it's laughable that Keir Starmer can sit up there and say that when it's Ukraine that's actually doing the sabotaging. They don't want the war to end, and all of this is just a show.
My message to you, the Cabinet, and to the country today, as we mark this 4 years, is that we stand with Ukraine for as long as it takes. I wanted also to pay tribute to the incredible resilience of the Ukrainians.
You have shown the world what true resilience looks like.
And it is incredible resilience. When this conflict broke out 4 years ago, it was assumed it would be a matter of weeks before Putin took the whole of Ukraine, That's what everybody believed to be the case. 4 years later, the Ukrainians are holding out against that aggression.
Everybody's got their talking points. We're going to mark the 4-year anniversary of this war starting when they know very well that this started in 2014. What I think they're really marking is that now they've got the money laundering machine down pat for 4 years. I think they've refined it and they have perfected it.
Holding out on the front line where the circumstances are extremely challenging, but also holding out in the civilian life where every day Ukrainians get up and go to work as a sign of resilience and defiance of
You have shown the world what true resilience looks like.
the aggression. And we must defeat the falsehood that Russia is winning, because if you take the last year alone, Russia took 0.8% of land in Ukraine at a terrible cost to themselves of 500,000 losses. So we pay tribute to the resilience of Ukrainians. We all want a just and lasting peace, and that is what we're all working so hard for. It must be just and it must be lasting. That's why we set up the Coalition of the Willing a year ago, to do the work that was necessary on security guarantees, and I'm chairing a meeting of the Coalition of the Willing immediately after this Cabinet to try and take that work further forward. But let's be clear, in terms of getting to that just and lasting peace, it is Putin who is standing in the way. Volodymyr Zelensky has shown willing, he's taken the lead, it is Putin who is standing in the way, and that's why we must always double down on our support for Ukraine. That means capability, it means resource, it means more sanctions, and today I'm pleased that we're announcing the biggest package since 2022 in terms of sanctions package. That's 300 energy companies, Russian energy companies, that are being targeted. And we're doing a lot more work on the shadow fleet, which is essential in terms of weakening the ability of Russia to continue with this aggression. And then finally this, because this is not a remote conflict a long way away from the United Kingdom. It's about us in so many levels. It's about our values of freedom, democracy, and the right of a country to decide for itself what it does, which is democracy and sovereignty. It has already impacted us over and above the work we've done on capability, resource, sanctions, etc., because it has hit every family with the cost of living. Energy prices doubled at the beginning of this conflict. They're still 40% higher than they were before the conflict. And so every family is feeling this. And how and when this conflict ends is going to affect everybody in the United Kingdom for a very long time, which is why it's so important that we make sure that it's a just and lasting peace. And Ukraine is very much the front line of our freedom, and we need to bear that in mind as we mark this 4 years since the outbreak of this awful conflict.
Tonight is a very important night where Trump will be giving his State of the Union address. It is my hope that this Ukraine war will be put to rest and that we are not going to be going into any more wars. But I'm going to leave you with this final clip from Thomas Massey, who couldn't have said it better, where America is looking for accountability now. We really do need to drain this swamp.
Congress created the Department of Justice. Congress funds the Department of Justice. And Congress is responsible for the oversight of the Department of Justice. When will we see justice? I'll tell you what I've not seen. I've not seen any arrests from the revelations in the Epstein files, over 3 million documents describing horrible things, describing unspeakable things, so much of it redacted. Over 24 people have resigned, CEOs, members of government worldwide. But I haven't seen any arrests or investigations here in the United States from this Department of Justice. Prince Andrew, Duke of York, who has since been stripped of his royalty, his royal titles, due to his affiliation with Jeffrey Epstein, has been arrested. Peter Mandelson, who previously served as UK's ambassador to the United States, resigned in disgrace from United Kingdom's House of Lords and the Labour Party, and he's been arrested. Former Prime Minister of Norway, Torbjørn Jagland, has been charged But we don't see any charges, arrests, or investigations in the United States. What do we see? We see our FBI director celebrating in the locker room at the Olympics overseas. It's fine to be proud of this country, but we should be proud of this country because we have a system of justice that works, and yet we do not. Who are the men that should be investigated? I'll name them right here. Leon Black. You don't even have to see past the redactions to see that this man needs to be investigated. Jess Staley, accused of terrible things. It's right there in the files. Why is he not being investigated? And Leslie Wexner. Why did the FBI list him as a co-conspirator in their own documents in a child sex trafficking case, and then tell him, according to him, that they had no questions for him? Why is that? Well, the Epstein Files Transparency Act requires the DOJ and the FBI to disclose to us their internal memos and emails about how they made those decisions, whether to prosecute or not prosecute. Yet they have not delivered those memos. And we still don't have the memos and documents and emails from 2008 to explain why Jeffrey Epstein was given such a light sentence in what would have been an open and shut case of child sex trafficking, which allowed him to go back and recommit these terrible crimes, create hundreds of more victims, and ensnare so many other people in his conspiracy. Where are those documents that describe those decisions? We need justice. We want the Department of Justice to get to work, and that's what they need to do now.
Such a fraud.